Friedman has convinced many that the world is flat. One consequence of globalization is the intense competition for a talented workforce. Can you tell us about some of the specific challenges you experience in building a workforce with the innovation skills to compete? We can start again with Julie.
Okay. I would say with, are you saying with the innovative skills or just in general?
With the skills to compete in the global economy.
Yeah, I think back to what I think Nathan was saying around the real skill gaps that we're having is in science, technology, engineering, and math. And really, Life Technologies, one of our product lines is we have a DNA sequencer, and what that does is it sequences the gene, so you can actually really help from a personalized medicine perspective. But the problem with that is there's so much information that is coming out of these sequencers that the company that can solve that equation through bioinformatics or programmers, statisticians, someone who brings the science disciplines together, whether it's biology and chemistry and molecular and cell biology, actually has a competitive advantage. And it's one of our key issues is that we're not finding enough of those skill sets for what we think the future demand is going to be. The other real challenge that we're having is in China and Singapore, where we have, it's our biggest growth markets. That is really where we need to be. We are already, but we need to continue to be there. That's where most of our revenue growth will be coming from. And our turnover is 18% in China. The unemployment is 1.9% or something. And the lower level employees, the people right out of school, are leaving one company and going to another company and getting 30–40% pay increases. So that is actually our biggest challenge right now in terms of getting the talent immediately in Singapore and China.
Keith, do you face these challenges as a small company?
Yes, absolutely. Being, once again, a defense contractor, the Defense Department has had more and more requirements for certifications and training for our engineers to touch the networks and computer systems that are in the installations these days. So with a shrinking budget, I have to figure out a way to get these engineers and employees trained. So one thing I have done is take good use of computer-based training, remote training, things like that, to try and save money on training them. But a little anecdotal story here. My wife works for a local, actually they just moved their headquarters to Virginia, but Computer Sciences Corporation, and they offshored 8 positions to India about 4 years ago, and she manages them. Well, because they were cheaper, right? Well, same thing, turnover. Within 4 years, she had a complete turnover of all the employees. So continually retraining them. And so they now have finally decided at the corporate level to bring those positions back. Because when they did the total cost of doing business, it was as expensive or more, because they had to have a local manager. Their salaries kept going up because as they start getting turned over. So it isn't just a problem here, and I'm not trying to make a statement or anything, but for my employees, yes, I do face those challenges of how to stay competitive.
Vince, what is one of the most difficult jobs to fill at your company?
Any job that requires human contact. And I'll tell you why, because we are all one negative client experience away from losing our businesses. Okay? I own 3 businesses in San Diego. And we don't have the capacity. Everyone understands what just-in-time manufacturing is in manufacturing, right? No inventory, real-time productivity of production. That model does not work well in the service sector. But because times have been what times have been, you see people downsizing the client contact part of their business. And what they forget is that is the most important element. It's difficult to teach people common sense and customer service and tactfulness, and it's a very difficult position to interview for. And what's happened in most companies is now every employee is now a customer service employee. And as you mentioned about some of the folks that have offshored, I think we should all recognize that, you know, there's a little Groundhog Day to a lot of these conversations related to workforce development and everything else. If you just take our country and you go back to the cotton gin, and you realize it misplaced an awful lot of employees. And that's what technology does. It's radical, it's disruptive, and it kind of changes, it moves your cheese. And I think what we have to remember, particularly in this country, is your job as business people and as graduates is to create a market for yourself. In other words, there has to be demand for you to exist. If there's no demand, you're unemployed. So first of all, you have to create demand and the demand opportunity. And then you have to be the person. I call it E101, and it's a course I teach that says you can be a commodity. So we all know what commodities look like Walmart's a commodity, Costco's a commodity, nothing wrong with these companies. Or you can be a concept, okay? The only way to replace a commodity is to have a lower price, faster lead time. The only way to replace a concept is to have a better concept. That's why research and development, what these two companies to my right do, they're developing a concept and they're attracting workers that want to save the world. And those workers have an opportunity to create something that's so dynamic and so unbelievable that it's going to create demand, and that demand is going to create employment. And the question is, how do you teach your workforce that they have that responsibility with you? And when you find the workforce that understands that, then your company can thrive.